In this episode of Talking About Orks, we're going to be going over the Wierdboy. So the Wierdboy hasn't changed a whole lot from the index. So Wierdboy is a single model armed with a Wierdboy staff. Same stats, 5-inch move, 3 plus weapon skill, 5 plus ballistic skill, strength 5, toughness 4, wounds 4, attacks 3, leadership 6, and a 6 plus save. So Wierdboy staff isn't too bad because he has 3 attacks at strength 7, AP minus 1, D3 damage, which isn't bad at all. He has Irigo, Mob Rule, Daka Daka Daka, of course. Wah Energy. Add 1 to psychic test taken for this model for every 10 orc models, excluding Gretchen, within 10 inches of it when the roll is made, to a maximum of +3. And the result is 12 plus. This model immediately suffers perils of the warp. I'm not a big fan of limiting it to the +3. It did help make your spells pretty much uncounterable most of the time. For cost, of course, you'd be rolling 15, 16 on the dice with the bonus. So you're not even Magnus could counter them. But of course, you'd always take perils when you do that. I thought it was a fair trade-off. They have uncounterable spells, undeniable spells, technically, I guess if you want to. I've been playing a lot of Magic lately. Undeniable spells, but you always take a perils. Just limiting the +3 makes it really good, just not insanely broken like it used to be. Psyker, this model can attempt to manifest 1 psychic power in each friendly psychic phase and attempt to deny 1 power in each enemy psychic phase, and no smite and 1 power from the power of the Wah. Orc, clan, character, infantry, psyker, Wierdboy. Of course, you can pump him up to basically a level 2 for 1 command point, where he gets to know 2 powers and can deny 2. So, let's go over the psychic powers, of course, because that's what it comes down to. What can you do with the Wierdboy? Let's go over the power of the Wah discipline. Okay, so Edbanger. Edbanger is a warp charge value of 8. If manifested, roll a d6 and compare it to the toughness characteristic of the closest enemy model that is visible and with 18 inches of the psychic. If the result is higher than the model's toughness, it is slain. Which, you know, it could potentially take out some characters, some mid-range characters, you know, 4 and 5, 3 to 4 wound characters, if they happen to be the closest. But you probably just want to shoot them at that point if they are. But that's really all it's going to be good for. So it's very situational. Edbanger is going to be. Well, actually, I guess there are going to be some situations where it's going to be really good. Say, multiple wound models like, say, Paladins or Centurions, or the Primaris Centurions, Aggressors. So any toughness 4 to 5 multi-wound models, crisis suits, broadsides, this could be useful for. Of course, it's not going to work for anything that's toughness 6 or greater, but yeah, so that's what you really want to use this for multi-wound models. And of course, if you are using this against like broadsides, it's not a wound, so you can't use saver protocols on that. So it's still situational, but a lot more situations than it looks like at first glance. Warpath, of course, is take a unit, you get +1 attack, which is amazing for boys, of course. Also good for dual chop and knobs, gives them up to 6 attacks each. Mega knobs. Warpath is good on anything, pretty much. So it's even good on characters. So it's kind of more universal use than the other one, Fists of Gork. Fists of Gork is only characters, and they gain +2 strength and +2 attacks. And remember, that's +2 to the strength characteristic and not +2 strength. Big difference, because then it goes before the Power Claw, not after. But that only can target characters, whereas Warpath can do any unit. So it's kind of a trade-off. If you think you're going to be targeting boys and characters, you might want to go with Warpath. If you're thinking about just characters, and Fists of Gork is going to be obviously superior. So you have to choose between the two on what you're playing and what you're playing against. Of course, the big one is the jump, which has not changed. With a warp charge value of 7, manifest a select friendly Ork infantry unit with 12 inches of the sector. Remove that unit from the battlefield and set up anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches away from enemy units. It counts as having moved for any rules purposes such as firing heavy weapons. And the jump is just as broken and as awesome as it always was. And now you get to combine it with all the other deep striking shenanigans the Orks have, which we lacked in the index, such as Teleporta, Storm Boys, the Blood Axe stratagem, where you could actually put a whole unit of boys in reserve if you really wanted to. So yeah, the jump is even better than ever before. And of course, if you combine it with Evil Sons, now you only need to roll 8 on 2 dice with, here we go, rerolls. It gives you a 72.5% chance of making that charge after the jump. So it's just as good as always, and with the Evil Sons trait, it's even better. And with the new Deep Strike shenanigans, it's even better. So the jump is probably going to be the primary power you're going to be using on Wierdboys. The Crunch has a warp charge value of 8. It manifests as like an enemy unit within 8 inches. That's just any enemy unit. So you can target characters with this. Roll a d6 for each model in that unit. For each roll of 6, the unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Then roll 2d6 on a 10 plus. Roll a d6 once more for each model in that unit. For each roll of 6, the unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So while it doesn't sound that useful for characters, if a character is down to 1 or 2 wounds, you can do the Crunch and hopefully take it out. And it would be good for massive units. Say if you're playing against Orks and you start rolling a bunch of 6s and hit them with some mortal wounds. So, or any large units in general, actually. And again, it's only 1 mortal wound. So yeah, it's only on 6s. So it might have limited uses, but again, I think it's going to be very situational and only okay. And Roar of Mork. Roar of Mork has a warp charge value of 8. It manifests to subtract 1 from leadership characteristic of any units while they're within 18 inches of the sector until your next psychic phase. I don't see this at all. I don't see why this is in here, because there's nothing the Orks can do to play onto that leadership. Like other armies can reduce your leadership and do something else, like say Eldar can reduce your leadership and then mind war you. Something like that, some payoff for reducing leadership. There really isn't anything here in the Ork Codex that it gives you a payoff for reducing leadership, and just 1 is probably not worth taking a psychic power slot, considering the other 5, or at least the other 4 or 5, are all really good. Some are better than others, some are situational, but it could have been just about anything else. Just again, because there's no payoff for the lower leadership, I don't see a reason to take it ever. So that's the Ork Psychers. Again, with that extra command point, you can make them level 2, and since it is pre-game, you can make all 3 of your Psychers, because you are limited to 3 in match play, of course, or events. And most people are going to play that way because it makes sense. So you're limited to 3 Wierdboys, which is still plenty. You can give them each level 2 if you really want to, and just burn them out with massive casting bonuses. Again, the Crunch and Ed Banger are going to be very dependent on what you're playing against, and Warpath or Fist of Gore can be very dependent on what you are playing, and the jump is still just as broken as it ever was, because you can still do that first turn with no restrictions, because they're not in reserve. They're already set up on the battlefield, so you can jump first turn. Probably don't want to, but it'd be, if you're going to throw a unit at something, throw that unit of 30 boys up there, distract them for a turn until all your other deep strike stuff comes out, and then use Endless Green Tide to bring those boys back to join in the fun, and everything else deep strikes turn too. So there's Orks have a lot of really good deployment shenanigans these days. So any questions about psychic powers or the Wierdboy itself? Wierdboys are a staple, and it gives you that nice chance to decline psychic powers, which is always useful, because some of them are pretty powerful, such as Warp Time. Warp Time, of course, is one of the most annoying that you'll come up against, because then with Warp Time you don't get to control the assaults, that you get assaulted. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching this episode of Talking About Orcs. Please subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications for new Talking About Orcs videos every Wednesday, new battle reports every Friday, and hobby videos whenever I can. Thanks for watching.